And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, why are you spending your time doing this? Like, we should be able to automate this. And so I built a small tool for him to use, and that saved him about $75,000 a year. And so then I was like, okay, how do we now generalize this to other physicians?
Welcome to episode 10 of Tool Use. This week, we're going to be talking how to leverage AI on your desktop. And we have 3 really cool demos for you. So we're going to be showing you how you can use AI-powered process automation to customize and repeat different processes to save you time and effort. We're going to be showing you how to do system-wide LLM integrations, so AI is always there to help you out when you need it. And we're going to be showing you passive context collection. So an AI will be operating in the background, gathering data and information to help better intelligently assist you. If it's your first time watching Tool Use, it's a weekly conversation about helpful AI tools where we teach you what is possible today by providing with real examples. We also talk to other AI tool makers to share their perspective, experiences, and help spread the knowledge. I'm Mike Bird, talking to Ty Fierro, and this week we're joined by Richard Abrich, the founder of OpenAdapt and an AI consultant. Happy to have you here, Richard. How you doing?
Thanks, Mike. Great to be here. Doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. And Ty, how you doing this week?
I'm feeling good. I got enough sleep last night, which is rare for me because I'm always building stuff late at night. But so I'm feeling extra vibrant. I've got caffeine in me. I'm ready to go today.
Oh, set high expectations. I love it. Richard, so how did you get into AI tooling? What's your background story? How'd you get here?
Cool. Thanks for asking. So I have a background in computer engineering. I did a master's at the University of Toronto in medical image processing and machine learning. I was enrolled in a PhD at one of the world's top AI labs with Turing Award winner Yoshio Bengio, but I ended up postponing it indefinitely to go into industry. So I worked in capital markets. Then I worked at a robotics startup that was acquired for 9 figures. I worked at a few different Silicon Valley startups. And I realized that a common sort of theme was building technology that nobody wanted. And so that's why I went into consulting, was to really focus on what do customers want. And so I've been doing that for about 6 years now. Recent customer includes Cleveland Clinic Innovations. I led a team to build a AI-powered neurodevelopmental disorder diagnostic system.
Super cool. I love how it's been like a wide range of activities. Is there a general area of interest for you, or is it kind of just moving the needle forward in technology in general?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess I'm always trying to find out, trying to identify what I can do that has the most impact. And that's why I like healthcare, because it's something that, everyone experiences the various problems associated with healthcare. So like literally impacts everybody. But using new technology is sort of a way to solve problems that were previously not solvable. And so it's a combination of like looking for the right industry and applying technology to the right problem.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. That's really neat. Is there any like experience you've had that's been that kind of like got you into doing the desktop automation stuff, or did that just kind of come out of a dream, or where did that come from?
Thanks for asking. That's a great question. So I have a brother. He's an electrophysiologist, which is a kind of cardiologist that installs pacemakers. And I was just watching him do his work. He works like really long hours, and it's extremely highly trained. But he spends like a good chunk of his time doing like this very repetitive manual work, sort of clicking around in electronic medical record systems, like copying and pasting sections of notes. And there was actually one particular process that I noticed that was taking a lot of his time. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, why are you spending your time doing this? Like, we should be able to automate this. And so I built a small tool for him to use called RVU bot. RVU stands for relative value unit. So it's basically like a way to automatically audit his billings. And that saved him about $75,000 a year. And so then I was like, okay, how do we now generalize this to other physicians? And then it turns out that the solution to that problem is actually the general solution of desktop process automation. And so that's the sort of the origin story of OpenAdapt. But that's really why OpenAdapt is vision first. So it's designed to work with desktop, but not only just desktop applications, but applications that run in Citrix. Because that's very, very common in healthcare environments and other enterprise environments as well.
I love it. I have a background in medical science, so it's always near and dear to my heart. And even though I don't actively work on it, part of my drive is being able to build the tools to help assist people, similar to that, where if you can take them out of doing the nitty gritty operational stuff and focusing on what they're best at, we're able to just move different industries forward. With talking to the dollar value saved, like it's clearly a big business opportunity. Why did you decide to go the open source route when you could probably, keep it to yourself and just start stacking those dollars?
That's a great question. So part of it comes back to impact. It was just clear to me back when I started working on this. Now there's tons of agent frameworks, agent companies, but back when I started working on this, there was actually only one that had recently announced. They were called Adept.ai. They'd raised like $500 million and were started by some of the Transformer co-authors. And so I felt that it was sort of a fool's errand for me to try to compete with them. And so, but it occurred to me that, if there's a closed source version of this sort of AI first process automation, there's going to be an open source version as well. And I just realized that I wanted to be part of building it.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm curious with desktop automation and all these different desktop apps, and the kind of the context generation and recording. Like, what's your take on privacy and that kind of area? Because it's such a hot topic right now with Microsoft's recall and whatever else.
For sure. Yeah, so that's something that we were very cognizant of early on, considering the healthcare sort of context. So one thing that we've done is we've built in various different PII and PHI scrubbing tools into the system. So if you want, you can sort of process all of the data before it ever gets uploaded anywhere. There's a few different ways that we do that. One is using something called Microsoft Presidio, which is sort of a local PII scrubbing library that works pretty well. And we also integrate with Amazon recognition and privacy AI if you're comfortable sort of, using a third party for your privacy needs. But I think long term, we've built OpenAdapt to be model agnostic as possible. We haven't done too much work on local models yet, just because what we're doing is not. I guess it's just like any other application. We want to use the latest and greatest models, but eventually the models are going to be good enough and small enough that they can be run locally. And actually, there's a new model that was just released last week that we're quite excited about building into locally that should be able to take off most of the tasks that we're currently using GPT-4 for.
Yeah, I'm very excited for the ability to not only leverage local models, but have system in places that can kind of intelligently route to different models. There are some things out there, but it's still very early days. So as long as we keep building with the intention of being able to evolve into that model agnostic platform, it's going to be really powerful. So would you want to give us a demo now?
Absolutely. Sounds great. So I'm just going to show you how OpenAdapt works. So here's my terminal. I mean, it's not just a terminal application. We also have a system tray icon that you can use if you don't want to code, if you're not comfortable with command line. But I am, so I'm going to use the command line. So the first thing to do is to create a recording. And in this recording, I'm going to use the calculator. So I'm just going to give it a quick label there. And so when you first run it, it takes a few seconds for it to start up. It's basically starting a whole bunch of listeners to track your inputs and your screen and et cetera. But now it's started, so everything that I do from here on out is going to be recorded. So I'm going to open up the calculator. You can see every time I press anything, the terminal is updating because it's just letting me know that it's recording. And so in this quick demonstration, I'll just say 5 times 6. And to stop it, I'm going to press Control 3 times. That's just sort of a sequence that we've built in to tell the system to stop. And so it's just going to save it to disk. Takes a couple seconds. There you go. So I'm just going to close this. And now I'm going to replay it. And there's different strategies that we have for replaying. You can think of these as policies in the reinforcement learning context. And I'm going to use something called the visual replay strategy. So a visual replay strategy uses a local segmentation model, FastSAN, to segment the active window. And then we use GPT-4 to convert the segments into text and then reason over those text segments. And so I'm going to give it some instructions as well. And I'll say calculate 2 times 3 minus 4. So this is going to take a minute or two to start up because it's going to look through the recording and it's going to, as I mentioned, segment all the screenshots. So that's what's happening there. And then for each segment, and then we prompt the model, GPT-4o in this case, to describe the segment. So you can see those descriptions. And then once we have the the described action, the described segments, we embed those into, oh, here we go. So it's running calculator. And you can say 2. And I'll just show you my hands so you can see I'm not doing anything.
Whoa.
There you go. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of a contrived example because like not many people need assistance using the calculator. It's a good one though because the segmentation model works really well on the calculator because of like very clean borders. So what we're doing now is looking at different ways to improve the segmentation in different contexts. So our pilot customer right now is in the insurance automation space, and they do a lot of stuff on the web. And so we built a Chrome extension that basically transmits the HTML of the visible HTML of whatever website that you're looking at back to OpenAdapt so that we can use, and we instrument the HTML with position. So each element we know exactly where it is. And then we can use that information to do the segmentation for web apps.
This is super cool.
Wow, it always blows my mind when the cursor starts moving and you don't move it yourself. Like I mean, we work at an open interpreter since I was seeing, like computer controlling stuff, but it never gets old watching an AI actually control the computer. Feels like we're so early days in this, and I'm actually really surprised none of the big players have released anything yet. Maybe it's like a safety thing potentially, but I mean, man, it's just. I love the idea of having an AI copilot that's an actual copilot that's actually controlling things for me. What's most exciting to you about the tech you've built?
What's exciting? I guess it's the potential for impact. So my brother's not the only one who's doing repetitive tasks. So we have on the OpenAdapt GitHub a whole lot of issues, and one of them is for use cases. And this is where I get excited because there's so many. These are real use cases that we've identified. Talking to customers. One of them that really excites me is this one, the human genetics researcher. So one of my oldest friends is a MD, PhD, also extremely highly trained. For part of his work, he had to compile a database for doing genetics research. But that involved basically like creating a single row in that database involved all these different steps, and each of them can take a bunch of time because the software is like not very performant, and so he would spend literally hours just clicking around, I'm really excited about the potential for OpenAdapt to basically allow new kinds of automations that can greatly accelerate different aspects of work. And genetics research is obviously pretty exciting.
Yeah, these are heavy-hitting industries. I love it. Do you find there is an issue with very long-running processes with many steps? Because I know with an LLM having it all in the context, sometimes it can lose track and deviate from course. But the way you have it set up, I feel like the structure is different. How does like short, easy, repeatable tasks compare to the long-running ones?
That is also a great question. So for short tasks, and what you just saw in the calculator demo there, what we're doing is there's just a single planning phase where, it does everything that I described in terms of the segmentation and the descriptions. But then before actually playing back the actions, we ask the model to plan what the action should be given the user's instructions. And that's where those modifications come in. But I think as you correctly identified, that's going to break down for longer tasks. And so that's where this idea of a process graph comes in. So this is still work in progress. But yeah, let me just give you a quick overview here. So the first step is the recording from the user demonstration, which is what you saw. And then there's sort of this reduction step where we combine low-level events into higher-level events. And there's a bunch of stuff going on here, but I just want to bring your attention to this process graph here. So there's this rich process mining literature that basically what they do is they take what they call a process log, and they create a graph describing that process. And what I'm interested in doing for OpenAdapt is basically converting a recording into a process log, which we can then convert into a process graph, and then have essentially that graph act as a state machine that we can embed into the prompt for the model to know sort of where it is in the process. And I guess the idea there is that machine learning works well when you're constraining the problem as much as possible. So one way to think about it is that you're using as much sort of cognitive capacity on a single problem. You want to shrink that problem down because you have a fixed cognitive sort of budget. So you want to shrink that problem down as much as possible. And so if you have this like very, very long task that's like many, many steps, there's essentially room for compounding error in that case. And so by deconstructing it into a graph, you're basically shrinking the problem down into a single step in that process. And we just have to make sure that the model can accomplish that single step in the planning phase, as opposed to planning the whole thing correctly from the get-go.
I see prompt automation on here. That's like one of my favorite things in AI and really in life is just like AI prompt optimization. And I'm just curious what that looks like, or if you have any insights on how you guys do automatic prompting.
Oh man, so that's a whole area of rich, literature that we haven't really explored nearly as much as I would like. There's a few different approaches here that I've sort of outlined for whoever's interested. And this is already like a few months old. But one of the particular approaches that interests me is text grab. So this is basically a way to automatically update the prompt in order to accomplish a goal. So automatic differentiation via text. This is something I'm very interested in exploring, but I guess we just haven't had time to do it yet. There's a lot of different techniques, and there's a whole section on papers with code for this. Lots of rich literature to explore.
I highly recommend checking out DSPy if you ever get the chance. It's really fun to play with.
Yeah, I've looked at it before. It's sort of the abstractions seem like it seemed a little bit dense to me. It seemed like quite academic. Have you had success actually implementing this?
Yeah, it's very dense for sure, and it's kind of like a difficult syntax to understand because I also don't know PyTorch, and this is kind of all modeled around PyTorch in the way that it is kind of designed. But once I actually just took basically the whole code base and all of the documents and made one giant Claude project and with all of its context, and now I'm like, all right, well, make me a program that optimizes a prompt and makes this little workflow that does this and that, and Claude's like, all right, sure, here you go. And so there's this, it's kind of complicated code, but it runs. And so I mean, props to Claude for distilling that really complex information down. But I wish I could say that I'm in there coding every line of it and scrutinizing it and understanding all the papers, but no, Claude's really helped me out there. But I have a lot of fun with it. I think there's a lot more room to play with, and there's probably more lightweight wrappers or lightweight frameworks for this type of thing. But I think I've said it almost every episode, Mike, that prompt optimization is the future. So I just had to throw that out there.
I love that architecture diagram. Seeing a well thought out system is always a good sign. I'm curious if you've had the opportunity, because clearly there's a million things on the to-do list, but had the opportunity to explore either like a multi-agent setup or even just like parallelism between that. Is there anything that you've been able to research in that regard?
So that's something that we haven't spent too much time on for the reasons that we've described. But it is interesting to note that the process mining literature actually does have rich treatment of this idea of like, they don't call them agents, obviously, because process mining is rooted in sort of conventional business processes. So you have just multiple, I think they call them subjects, sort of working on different aspects of a process, and there's certain points where they merge. And so I think that's part of the reason why I thought that the process mining approach would work really well, is that eventually there's going to be sort of this collaborative environment for agents to work together. But I think we're not quite there yet.
I did notice on your repo that you have bounties, so I really hope people take you up on that and check it out, because crowdsourcing contributions, crowdsourcing expertise has been proving more and more effective. And if you put your money up for it, I really hope people check it out.
Yeah, we've had definitely a lot of interest on the bounties. I will say that it's tricky to find to strike the right quantity, because like if it's too low, then you'll get sort of like a lot of like low efforts submissions, and then it ends up being sort of more time is spent sort of wading through those submissions than is actually worth it. So we're still trying to figure out the right balance there.
Yeah, it makes sense.
What type of, how resource intensive is this? Could I run this on a Raspberry Pi?
That's a good question. So for when we're using like a frontier model, most of obviously the heavy computation is happening remotely. If you're using, it depends on which strategy you're using to do the replay. So if you're using any visual replay strategy that runs on the desktop, then basically it requires a segmentation model. And we do have remote segmentation models that you can use. It might require a little bit of configuration. But yes, theoretically, it is possible. I haven't tried it myself on a Raspberry Pi.
I can't wait to play around with it. I did download it, but I did something similar with the calculator demo, but I really want to start pushing its limits and see what it's capable of.
Awesome. Please do. And please, yeah, let me know how it goes. And join our Discord or post any issues on our GitHub.
Totally. Absolutely. And we'll link them both down below so everyone watching can check it out as well.
Love it.
All right, Ty, let's see how you use AI on your desktop.
Yeah, well, I want to show off a really cool app that's called Plock. Actually, I'll just show off the repo real quick. It's a little tiny desktop application built in Rust that does like inline AI and you can use bigger models, but I have it all set up to be Ollama, so it's completely local. And it's actually really good. Like, I'm actually surprised at how good it is. And so I can do something like this. I have this little prompt here. Whoa, that switched something up. Okay, so if I like highlight this text and copy it, and then if I highlight this and then hit this command, boom, right in line. It just took my command and just plopped it on out, which is pretty cool. So it can do that. So let's see, what else can we do here? AI-driven personalization. Okay, let's say I can take this, or actually I'll do this and I'll do summarize this. And then I can just kind of copy this, and then I just hit Command-Shift period. And then boom, it just pops it right in. The coolest part about this is it's just directly in line. Like, there's no little window that pops up. There's no anything. It's just, you just hit a command, it takes whatever's on your clipboard as context, and then just kind of pastes it right in. There's two modes. There's Command-Shift period, and I think Command-Shift period, like, just you highlight text and it just replaces it. And so if you add a little prompt in line, it can just do it. And then there's the Command-Shift / which takes like clipboard content. So maybe I can just select this whole thing and then hit copy. And now down here I can say like, write me some follow-up questions. And then I can do that. And then I just hit this. Boom, off it goes. And now it's writing me follow-up questions for that whole document. And this is all running completely locally. It's using Phi 3. This is the one I had downloaded for Ollama. I wanted something small to show off how fast it is. But yeah, it works anywhere on your machine, any app, any place. Highly recommend checking it out. I don't know if it's still being developed. It seems like it might not be, but it's such a cool app. And I would love for this style of thing to come into more applications. And I think Apple Intelligence has shown some of this, but not to the same clean way. You know, they pop up little windows with buttons and things like that. And I just want to hit a hotkey and just have it fill right in. So anyway, super cool app. Highly recommend checking out. And this guy, this guy ships. Like, he's got some cool stuff on his GitHub. Like, there's this other thing he made called REM, which is basically like ScreenPipe before ScreenPipe. This was 10 months ago. It's a little Swift app that just records your screen constantly, does everything locally. And anyway, he's a cool dude. I would love to get him on the podcast at some point. There's some really cool tech that he's building. But anyway, okay, so that's one app that I want to show. I have an added demo of another honorable mention application that I was just playing with yesterday. Some of you might have heard this. Have you guys ever heard of Pinokio before?
Yeah.
Super cool. It's like this little app that lets you try all sorts of different repos. Like here's Ditto that just got launched like yesterday or something, right? Like a couple days ago. And then there's like some different Stable Diffusion. We got Ray Fernando's in here, some video transcription. But yeah, so it really just makes it easy to click on one of these and just try it. And then it just kind of pops up and just works, which is super cool. And so I was playing with it yesterday. I was playing with like photo makers, and I was trying Auto GPT out. And I played with like 6 different things in the span of an hour just because it makes it so easy. And yes, it's basically just like Git cloning the repo, installing the dependencies, and getting it fired up, which is, you know, easy for us devs. But also then I have to like make directories and put things places and then make sure all the installs happen. They just kind of do all of it behind the scenes. So I was actually really impressed. But I tried this one yesterday, which is pretty fun. Face Fusion. You can just go directly into the UI, and then in just a couple clicks, you can make some nightmare fuel. and it it comes up real quick, or at least it should. I have let's see here. Come on, show me something I won't be able to forget. There it is. Oh man. Or I could even do let's see, I'm gonna try one more just because it's fun. I'm just curious what this would look like.
Sam,
Ready to see Mike Altman here? I have fun. I have too much fun with this. I was literally playing with this for too long. Hey, there it is. Not bad. It's
That's
really
actually not
grainy,
terrible.
but I know, right? Like, not bad. It's got the beard and everything. And it's got your eyes. Like, I'm impressed.
Nicer hair, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how he gets his hair so well. But anyway, I was playing with this for like an hour yesterday, just hilariously throwing different pictures in. I was trying to get like birds to merge with frogs, and that didn't work. But, you know, just random people mixed with random people was a lot of fun. But Pinokio just makes this really easy to do, you know? So you just go explore any of these different things, hit a couple buttons, and you're off to the races. So I thought that was worth an honorable mention for AI desktop episode because it's really fun. But yeah, I think those are the two demos I got.
I've been following the Pinokio desktop for a little while, the development of it, and it's cool because it does, like you said, it allows these AI tools to be accessed by everyone really quickly. Pace of development's really quick, and yeah, it just gives a nice user interface, so you don't have to worry about you firing up your own Gradio instance or trying to work the command line too much. You just click around, and you get to experiment, and that's for rapid iteration, like rapid experimentation, super valuable.
Yeah, it's cool to just play with the latest, greatest, you know, because and also just to see them all there. I just go on and click a couple buttons and boom, I'm playing with like the latest Stable Diffusion model or whatever. So anyway, I'm going to use it a lot more. I just started it yesterday, and now when they release new little scripts, I'm going to try it out. But it's definitely worth checking out, especially for those that aren't very technical and want to play with this stuff. You don't have to worry about all the commands and all that. They even have a mode which I thought was pretty interesting. Right when you download the app, there's like a setup script. They're like, hey, you don't have Homebrew installed or Git or any of these different things. And it's like, all right, let's install it. So it installed Git and Conda and all these different frameworks with a single button click, and then you're done. So you didn't have to deal with going and installing all of those yourself manually, especially if you're non-technical. It's an awesome app to play with.
For Plock, just like stepping back a bit, unfortunate to see it hasn't been maintained a little bit. Hopefully it still gets a little life kicked in. Is it MIT licensed? Could anyone pick it up and kind of run with it?
Actually, a good question. I should check. I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it's
So it's MIT.
MIT.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
Okay, MIT. Yep.
Because the one thing I think would be really appealing is being able to allow other modalities of input for the manipulation. Because say I highlight text I'm going to summarize. If I could do voice input and just, hotkey summarize this, I find that is more conducive to my workflow than having to like enter a new line, highlight, copy. But I don't know, I feel like it's such a powerful thing to have AI anywhere. Like even earlier today, I was copying the title from my own video to put in a description. It was in title case. I want regular case. You have to go to each word, delete, type the number one. If I could just highlight and just say, make this regular case, or, for function naming, make this all caps or something, that would be immensely helpful. So I think that tool is like on the cusp of being really great. So I hope someone picks it up and runs with it.
All right, Mike. Richard set the bar pretty high here for demos. I'd love to see what you got for the week.
When Microsoft came out with Recall, I had like an allergic reaction to it. The idea of Microsoft recording your screen at all times just didn't sit right with me. Something that's that invasive and all-knowing, I feel should be open source. There's something about wanting to make sure you know the innards of how it's working and what happens with the data, where it goes, is very important to me. So even though I didn't like the implementation, I really like the idea, because having access to semantically search what you go through the entire day could be really helpful, because I know I'll be having a conversation like, oh, I saw this one GIF, or I saw this one document that I really wanted to share. No idea where it was. I have too many tabs open. It gets lost in the clutter. So having the ability to ask my computer or ask an AI to pull something up or to reference something sounds very valuable. So I was pretty excited when I heard about ScreenPipe. ScreenPipe is an open source project, also MIT licensed, where it will record your screen and audio, whether it's your microphone or system audio, as long as you have it running. And then it's queryable. Now, the project is only 4 months old, still relatively new, so the API isn't very developed yet, but it has a lot of promise. So I just wanted to quickly show. So you get a lot of options. You can set the monitors that you're going to use. You can set the audio devices. So it's getting there. Like, it's definitely showing a lot of promise. And I just wanted to quickly demonstrate how earlier in the day, also, sorry, when you search for something like, okay, where have I mentioned OpenAdapt today? Or when does it come up on my screen? You get this whole blob of information. It's very overwhelming. I pipe it to JQ to kind of structure it a bit. And you can see, actually, this little quote was when I was watching Richard's demo video. Or I have like a OCR over my screen when OpenAdapt AI was there. So it's a lot of information right now, but it's helpful to have this be a component in a system. So rather be a standalone thing you use, if you use it with something that can consume all this information and present it in a nicer way, it becomes very powerful. So I actually set up a profile in Open Interpreter called ScreenPipe. And what this will do is it'll allow you to use your natural language queries, get converted into a ScreenPipe database query, and be able to return the results and then act upon it. So let me just really quickly run this. When was I talking about OpenAdapt today? So I'm using Grok. That's why you get that snappy speed. And I set up this search ScreenPipe function as a custom tool in Open Interpreter. So it'll pass an OpenAdapt and query it. Let's approve that. And again, you get a whole bunch of information, but Open Interpreter takes this all in, processes it, and then it'll actually tell you a more consumable way of what you're dealing with here. So there you go. I was looking at the OpenAdapt AI GitHub earlier today, which is true. I was checking it out, wanted to check out the code. Can you please open up that website for me? And this is where the Open Interpreter aspect comes in, because all of a sudden you're able to take this data and action it. Oh, it cut it off.
I blame that on Grok.
I blame that on Grok. This is just Llama 70B, so it's nowhere near as powerful as GPT-4o. But the premise is there, where you're able to use a tool like ScreenPipe, or like you showed, REM, something that is able to consolidate this data and make it queryable, all of a sudden unleashes a whole lot of extra context that you can use in your AI system. So I'm trying to encourage people to think less about an individual tool as the solution versus a pipeline solution or a system set in place. Similar to how Richard showed us the architecture diagram, there's so many moving components that we're so early in the process that you want to start piecing things together, being able to have information flow smoothly between the system to really achieve the results you want. So I really encourage people, if they're looking to automate a process, to explore automating or creating code to satisfy a single portion of it and then open source it. Because if we can take these plug and play components, these little Lego blocks, we'll be able to start gradually building up more and more systems to achieve this level of automation that we're really striving for. So ScreenPipe, still early days, but a potentially valuable component to a larger system. So check it out.
That's super cool. It's the idea of having all your stuff on your computers all locally with no beaming out to anywhere. That's really neat. I feel like I was just yesterday, I saw a tweet. I feel like for tweets, it would be really helpful because Twitter's search algorithm sucks so badly. There was a tweet that I needed to find to send to someone, and I kept looking for it, and I was searching Twitter, and I couldn't find it. And maybe that was something that would help. And if it had all the recordings of the screen, I'd just be able to go back to a tweet that it's seen.
I feel the exact same. Twitter search, you'll have a person search from them, like top results shows absolutely nothing. Go to latest, then it shows some stuff. The search is just not quite there. I was actually asking the creators of ScreenPipe if that would work. And it's at the point now where it can identify the tab that you're in, but you have to make sure the resolution is high enough, because right now I have it set, and this is all configurable, to 0.2 frames per second. So every 5 seconds, it'll actually take a frame. But if you want something like Twitter, you're probably going to need a faster resolution in order to capture all the data as you doom scroll through it. But then you have more data storage. So it's finding the balance. And I'm sure there's going to be a more storage efficient way to accomplish this in the future. Like I said, just 4 months old. So a lot of potential in the area to explore.
Super cool. Great demo, Mike.
Well, those are 3 pretty cool demos, but I'd like to dive a little bit more into OpenAdapt. Richard, do you mind telling us like the business model or how you plan on pursuing it further?
For sure. So right now we're working on getting the tech reliable enough where we can start charging for it. The core software we're going to keep open source. That's the goal. But for enterprise customers, there's probably going to be some hosted components for improving performance, for viewing analytics. And ideally, we'd like to keep that open source as well, but also provide the option for customers to pay for a hosted version, just to allow us to continue working on it. In the meantime, we're working on other AI consulting projects. One very common type of project that's coming up recently is automated data engineering. So a lot of customers have vast quantities of data, often unstructured data, and they want to be able to query it. And normally, how you would have to approach that is you'd have to hire a team of data engineers to convert the data into something that you can work with. But we've come up with a system to essentially use a large language model to automate at least part of the job of a data engineer. And so that involves basically looking at the data and then prompting the model to extract or first define features that are present in the data, and then actually extract those feature values given chunks of unstructured data, and then given some natural language query. So we have one customer who works in consumer products, and so like an example query would be like, how many women in like the Northwest United States who make over 100K prefer red boots over blue boots or something like that. And then basically prompt the model with that natural language question, along with all the different features that we've extracted. And there's essentially a prompt chain where we first which features are relevant for answering this question. And then we construct an ephemeral view into the data using those features. And then we tell the model, construct a SQL query into this view that will generate the values to answer this question. So it'll just construct a query, we run the query, we get some data back, and then finally we prompt it saying, now answer the question using the results. And it works surprisingly well. And so we built this for a few different customers already.
This seems so valuable. And even data engineers in general could be able to take this as their own consultancy and say, via this tool, I can, 10x my output. So I think there's a ton of potential there.
I agree. There's a few companies have raised a bunch of money. Like one of them went through a Combinator claiming to offer this, but so far they don't actually have anything. So we're sort of considering what to do about whether we're going to be releasing this as a product or keep it internal, or I would like to open source it, but yeah, we'll see how it goes.
It's always finding the balance between open sourcing stuff versus maintaining a financially viable company to support the open source. So
exactly.
It's a tightrope to walk. Yeah,
it's a little bit tricky.
I feel like with the data stuff too, like there's so many people or so many companies and organizations that have so much data, aren't doing anything with it, and don't have the budget to hire a data engineer to actually get use out of it. I feel like there's a big opportunity for anyone really to have some sort of tool that can go through just giant mounds of data that is just kind of will never be touched again because there's not a budget for it, there's not a plan to do it, and it's just kind of sitting on their AWS S3 bucket, and they don't know what to do with it. And so I think there's a huge opportunity here for even an 80-20. Like, can you just get 80% of the value that hiring a data engineer would get you for 20% or 10% or even 5% of the cost? I think that's going to help tremendously for a lot of different companies.
Agreed.
Richard, thank you so much for coming on. It was great learning about OpenAdapt. We're really excited to see how you can automate things and just move different industry forwards with your one product. Before we let you go, is there anything you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks so much for having me, Mike and Ty. For the audience, check out OpenAdapt at openadapt.ai. You can download the software for free. It is alpha software, so if something breaks, please let us know. We have a GitHub where you can submit issues, and we have a Discord where you can come chat about whatever.
Looking forward to checking it out. I need to download them. There's so many different flows that I want to try and play with now. I want to try to automate ChatGPT with it because I use ChatGPT all the time to do all sorts of things.
We'll link the GitHub, the Discord, and the website down below. And thanks again for coming on. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Mike and Ty.